What's up, guys? This is Casey, and welcome back to the channel. So, today I want to share with you guys everything that I did to get out of debt when I started my financial journey well over 10 years ago. At the time, I didn't have a lot of money. I didn't have a lot of direction or clarity on what I needed to do to try to get out of debt. And I had a lot of debt and I wasn't exactly sure what to do. And so I went online, did a lot of research. And these are the things that I did to start my financial journey that just tremendously helped change my life. And I want to share them with you guys today so that you can start applying them and that you also can change your life. So, without further ado, let's hop into this. So, one of the first things that I did when it came to getting out of debt is I took all of my expenses of my I took my car insurance, I used my gas, every expense that I had, I put that on one credit card. I consolidated all my expenses onto one card. And the reason that I did that is for a couple of reasons. One, I was able to clearly see in one location everything that I was spending every month instead of having to track down different expenses from four or five or six different credit cards or debit cards. And then the second thing they did was is that it made me have to start looking around to see how many different cards am I using or how many different expenses do I have coming out of different places. So it's really hard to keep track and manage money when it's coming all over the place. And so when you consolidate into one credit card, and I don't mean debt consolidation, that's a different thing. We're going to talk about that. It helps just make visually things a lot easier. The second thing that I did was is I made a list of all of my income and all of my expenses. Now, this one here is mandatory. A lot of people get intimidated when they think about making a budget or making a list because they think it needs to be Excel, it needs to be very complicated. It doesn't. It can be very simple, very dumbed down. It's super ABC basic. Just open up a notepad and literally just write down on the left column all of your expenses. And I mean everything. I'm talking about your rent, your gas, your car note, your light, your electricity, your cell phone bill. I'm talking about your tolls. I'm talking about how much money you spend on your food. How much money did you spend for Amazon? All of your your Netflix, your whatever it is. Write everything down on the left hand column in the categories, and then at the bottom, write out how much that is. And what that does is it allows you to gives you an actual visual of how much money and expenses you have. Right. So like a lot of big companies that are worth billions of dollars, like they have budgets. So why don't we? So just write it out. It doesn't matter how much it is, how little it is. Write it out so that you know exactly how much money is coming out and that you're spending. Food, groceries, convenience expenses, whatever it is, write it down. And then to the right hand side, you want to write out how much money you have coming in. If you're like most people, you get paid every 2 weeks. So you know how much money you should have coming in. Unless you're hourly and your hours vary tremendously, even if it is, you generally know how much money you're gonna have coming in. So 40 hours, $3,600 a month, $4,000 a month, $3,100 a month, whatever it is, write it down. And what does that do? It allows you to see a full picture of this is how much money I have coming in, this is how much money I have coming out. Now you're gonna be one or two people. Once you do this, you're gonna be a person that says, "Hey, I have $300 in expenses. I have $4,000 that I have coming in. All I have is $200 left over. Man, I don't have any money." Or you're gonna be the person that says, "Hey, I have $300 coming in, and I only make $3,400, and I'm $400 in the hole every month. Man, I really don't have any money." It doesn't matter. Write it down so that you know exactly where you stand when it comes to how much money that you have flowing out, how much money you have coming in. So you got to have a visual of that, and that's how you do it. And then the next thing that I did was, and the third thing I did was, is I looked at all of my expenses and I said, okay, well, which ones can I cut back on? So if there are any entertainment expenses, I said, okay, well, you want to have entertainment, you want to live life, but I said, okay, maybe I don't need to spend $200, going to the movies this week. Excuse me, this month. So maybe I'll cut down. I'll just, maybe 30, $40 for the month, right? I'm not going to go to the movies 2 or 3 times a week. I'm going to go just twice a month. Or maybe you're like, you know what, man, I spent $900 eating out last month. That was crazy. I shouldn't have went to Chipotle 6 times a week, every week for the month. So maybe I need to cut that down to like twice a week or once a week, or maybe I just shouldn't eat out at all. Like whatever your decision is based on your lifestyle, what's tolerance for you. Understand another thing that I want you guys to be comfortable with is this shouldn't feel highly restrictive. This isn't designed that you just totally lock everything down, in other words, you can't live life in enjoyment. You still work, you still want to be able to play and treat yourself. You just want to be able to do it in a not excess way. So that's what I did. And when you do this, what this does for you is it allows you to see then how much more additional cash reserves that you can add to your monthly free flow cash every month. So if you say, hey, I don't need Netflix, or I don't need whatever. I can cut down $300 eating out. I can cut down. Maybe I don't need this additional, I don't know, whatever it is, online service, which is $70 a month. I'll cut out on this, and I'm paying $180 for my cell phone bill. Maybe I can cut that down to 120 if I just change my plan over and negotiate with them. So cool, I just saved $370. So it helps you then consolidate and condense and identify how much more money you can have left over. It works wonders. And then the next thing that I did is you want to then start prioritizing your debt. So at this point, you have transferred all of your expenses, or the ones that you can, into one credit card and or debit card as well, so you can see how much is coming out on a statement. The second thing you've done is you've written out all your expenses and your income, and then the third thing you've done is you've written out the things that you think that you can cut back on, and you've tallied up that money and you've added it over to your free cash flow. Fourth thing is you want to prioritize your debt. If you're like a lot of people, you have a lot of debt. Credit card payments, you have collection accounts. You're like, well, man, which ones do I pay off first? My credit card account, my credit cards, or my collection accounts? It depends. What I like to do mostly is I like to focus on the active debt that I owe. So if I have 4 credit cards and one's $100, one's $5, one's $1,000, and one's $2,000, I focus on the $100 credit card first. A lot of people, when they're in debt, they can only afford to make minimum payments. That's okay. That's fine. Or maybe they'll make a few dollars extra than minimum payments. One of the things that I did is I made the minimum payments on all of my credit cards except for one. And I focused on the smallest credit card until I paid that one off. So if I had 4 credit cards and I was paying $100 on all 4 credit cards, for the most expensive cards, I just cut my payments down to $50, which is the minimum payment, right? And then I took that extra $50 for those 3 cards, which is the extra $150, and I put that extra payment or that extra money on the payment for the lowest credit card. That's called the snowball effect. And what that does is that's basically saying, listen, I can't knock all y'all out. I don't have the money for that. But the cheapest one, the smallest one, the weakest one, I could knock this one out first, and then I'm going to take that payment after I pay it off, that $100-$200. I'm going to take that payment and put that towards the second weakest card. I'm going to pay that one off, and then once that payment is done, I'm going to take the payment for the first card and the second card, and I'm going to pay that on the third card. And then once the third card is done, I'm going to take those payments and I'm going to pay that off on the fourth card. That's called the snowball effect, and it works wonders. It allows you to focus your efforts and your attention on one debt first and just knock it down bit by bit by bit. A lot of people get overwhelmed when it comes to paying off debt, and that is a tremendous thing that you can do, hands down, not even close. And then the fifth thing is I debt consolidated. So with credit cards, when you have 3, 4, 5 different credit cards, it can be very hard to keep track of the payments because credit cards have different due dates. So you're like, oh man, this one's due and this one's due and this one's due on the 21st and 29th and 16th. I can't keep up with this stuff. And so I contacted a debt consolidation company and said, hey, listen, can you pay off all my credit cards? And then I will just pay you the payment for all of this. And then that way, so you're basically transferring the debt, you're bringing it all into one payment. And then if you're lucky, you can get a lower interest rate than from all of the cards combined that you were paying separately. That works wonders for a number of reasons. Obviously, one, because you're not only paying on one debt on one day, so you can keep track of it. The second thing is it allows you to get a lower interest rate a lot of the time. So when even if you make the same amount of payments, so let's say you were paying $400 for credit cards total, right? And then your debt consolidation is now $400. You transfer all this money, all this debt, you bring it over to one payment. Well, the same $400 payment is going to pay more off towards principal when you get a lower rate. So debt consolidation is a very big thing a lot of people do for not only credit cards, but also for student loans. If you have student loans for, let's say, a federal student loan, you have a Pell Grant, you have a private student loan, there are companies that will say, listen, I'll tell you what, we'll pay off all your student loans for you, and then you just pay us at a lower interest rate. So debt consolidation works wonders, and I highly recommend that you guys do it. And then the sixth thing I want to talk to you about and that I did I made debt repayment plans with the creditors that I owed. So once I've started to focus on the active live debt that I've owed, the next thing I wanted to do is I wanted to start paying off on the creditors. So I got my reports from Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. And by the way, they're free. You don't have to pay anything. You don't have to, pay any monthly service. You can pull them online. You can also do freecreditreport.com. And basically, what that does is that's my timer, guys. What that does is it allows you to be able to identify, you know, things that you things that you owed and things that you also didn't owe. And so now you know exactly what's on your credit reports, and then that allows you to dispute them also for free. So what I did was is I had some debts that was like 5.5, 6 years old. I didn't dispute those; they just came off. But anything that's like 1, 2, 3 years old, just contact the credit and say, "Listen, I don't have $5,000, but I may have $2,500." Negotiate with them. A lot of creditors will take pennies on a dollar for debt that you owe. And some people will say, "Well, just let it fall off." Well, you can do that after 7 years, but the problem with that is that your your credit is going to be in the dumps for 7 years, and you don't really want that. And so you want to take as much effort as you can to pay that off as quickly as you can. And just again, the same principle applies. Focus on the creditor that will take the least amount of money. Focus on paying them first, and then take that payment, and then work your way up. So that's amazing. And then the eighth thing that I did is I gave myself some grace. I don't want you guys to be hard on yourself. Getting in debt is something that's very easy to do. A lot of people do it. It's super common, especially with all the credit card offers we have, especially with all the crazy interest rates and the penalties and how they kind of trap us into debt. So don't feel alone. There are millions of people who are struggling with this. And so give yourself some grace. Understand that it's not going to be an overnight thing, but you're going to be focused, and you're going to take a lot of effort to actually knock this stuff down in a bit by bit by bit. So if you just do the basics, right? Because a lot of this stuff can be overwhelming emotionally and also mentally. Just do the basics. Figure out how much money you have coming out, figure out how much money you have coming in, write it down so you know how much you're in the hole. From that point, cut down all the expenses that you don't owe, all the expenses and things that you think that you shouldn't want to pay. Excuse me. If you have and some people got a $900 credit card, excuse me, $900 either credit card from crazy expenses, or let's say you have like a $900 card note. Like, do you need that card note? Because if you don't, maybe you need to sell it. Just things like that. Like, give yourself some grace and be aggressive with it. And if you can do that, you're going to work wonders. So I hope you guys found this video beneficial. If you did, please like it, thumbs up, leave a comment. I can't tell you guys how much comments mean a lot to me, because comments obviously show that not only am I providing valuable content and engaging, but you guys found it very valuable. So hopefully you like it, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching.